It's our transportation meeting on Tuesday, March 23rd. We'll ask Commissioner Pickens to do the invocation and Commissioner Adams-Act to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this glorious day and all the blessings in it, Father God. We thank you for this opportunity to meet as a commission and staff and concerned citizen, Father God. We just hope that the presentations we understand and can deliberate and do the best for the county, Father God. We just ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Speed right through it. That was scary. Once we got started.
He's the metronome.
I want to call an auction soon.
Thank you, Commissioner Pickens and Commissioner Adams-Act for that lively allegiance. Is there any public comment on agenda items? Seeing no public comment on agenda items, we will move down to convene the transportation workshop. Mr. Troxel, item A, Public Works. I think Mr. Rodriguez is going to take that today.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
For this item, this is for the resurfacing of St. John's Avenue from Palm Avenue to CSX Railroad Crossing, coordination with the City of Palatka. We received a proposal from the designer to redesign a portion of the project to allow for the reconstruction of that part of St. John's Avenue, and to ensure that the county does not incur any costs associated with the redesign fees. An interlocal agreement has been drafted by the City of Palatka for the board's review and approval. And Public Works is recommending awarding the proposal to Hanson Professional Services by approving the attached change order, and recommends approving the draft interlocal agreement between the City of Palatka and Putnam County. If it's approved, Public Works will present the final interlocal agreement to the BOCC on April 13th, 2021 for final approval.
All right, so you're just asking us to move this document that we've all read forward, and what's the will of the board?
I have a question. At one point, we were talking about from 19th Street. Are we going to go all the way to the road tracks now, or?
So that's the portion of the project that'll be reconstruction, but in order to do that, the designer has to redesign it because he had designed it for resurfacing all the way to CSX. So now that we're doing the reconstruction for that portion, there's a fee required to do that redesign.
So no reconstruction west of 19th Street?
It'll be resurfacing. So we'll stick with the design, the original design of resurfacing west of 19th Street to Palm.
Right.
And then they'll
I know the
design
city's had a lot of
reconstruction from
issues.
19th to
The
CSX.
city's had a lot of issues with the intersection at Hudson and St. John's.
Right.
And then from there to 19th Street, there's been a lot of water main breaks and repairs, and we're not talking about that much more land, that much more, if that could be done at the same time and not have to tear up after we repave it, then have to come in and make repairs later.
I don't understand the question. I'm sorry, so I don't understand the question, Commissioner.
We were, at one point, we said, we're not going to do from Palm Avenue to the railroad tracks. We're going to stop at 19th Street because the city needs to make repairs. I'm just wondering if there's not a way that, at one point, Commissioner Harvey had made a recommendation to see if we could loan the money to the city to go ahead and make the repairs in the water and sewer there ahead of paving. So once it's done, and we don't have to come back later and dig it up and have the same situation we have now.
So for Hudson, is that east of 19th? Sorry, I'm not.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, they are going to try to.
That would be 23rd Street technically,
Okay.
so it's basically 4 blocks.
So they are going to be working on addressing the water line issue at the same time as reconstruction. So that is one reason why they would like to do the reconstruction. So whenever they take out the base, they can fix the water line before they reconstruct the road.
That's good.
Along that stretch from 19th Street
19th
to
to
Palm
CSX.
Avenue.
Yeah, that is something that they've been working with DOT on at the
Okay.
same silver.
Good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm
You
good.
Everybody good? Then we'll move this forward to April.
Okay.
The next thing, the Elvington Road drainage easement. That's part of the big plan that we've been working on for a long time. Commissioner Turner has.
Okay, and just to clarify on that last one, was there any questions on the interlocal agreement that was proposed? Okay, so for this next
read it.
item, for Elvington Road, so this is for the,
Mike, this is the easement for down on the corner where we already own the road, but this is the easement from the road over there to the canal that we need to take the water to once we cross the road, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank, if I may, Mr.
You
Chairman.
may, it's, yes.
Thank you very much for this. It's been a long time coming. That means we're just about ready to get started. I couldn't be more excited. This has been years in progress, and I know that the people in the area will be excited too once they see shovels hit the ground. So,
Thank you. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if nobody has any questions, I'm ready to move this one forward.
Anybody have any questions?
No.
No, I want to say though, I'm very pleased, Mr. Turner, Commissioner Turner, your hard work on that, and that's very needed in that area. It has been a long, long time coming. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right,
You're
we'll
welcome.
move that forward. You're going to bring that to the consent agenda in April 2?
Yes, for formal acceptance of the drainage easement.
Good deal. We look forward to it the 1st of April.
Great, thank
Okay,
you.
Commissioner comments.
That's not gonna hold us up, correct, if we wait till then? Okay, we're good.
Correct. It's not going to hold us up.
Okay.
So, not at all.
All right, thank you. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, you're fine, you're fine. Commissioner comments, we'll start with Commissioner Adamsack.
Well, I really don't have anything new from this morning.
Okay. Commissioner Turner,
I have none.
Commissioner Rawls.
I don't know if everybody got a copy of the Florida Trim magazine for April, but this is the poster child basically for what ails Putnam County. And I talked about trying to get this on the agenda. I think that we really need to, especially the fact that we're coming into budget season. We've all requested copies of the department head budgets. They've been turned in now. But part of what we discussed at our strategic planning meeting was taking this on. The Sheriff's Department, through the Public Safety Coordinating Council, has said that intervention is cheaper than incarceration.
Talking mental health.
And substance abuse, correct. And what this article refers to, it says, amid the pandemic, the state's opioid crisis intensified, and it's talking about how, and it doesn't take a psychologist or a psychiatrist to figure out that when you tell people to go home and not go to work, they're left to their own devices. Now we have an increase of suicides, especially in teens. Depression rates have increased, but we've also got to deal with this. And as a community, one of the stigmas that are attached to the community is the fact that we do have a high incidence of substance abuse. And that leads to domestic violence and other things. And listening to some of the folks that would like to come to Putnam County, this is one of the things that they do look at, is that we do have a fairly high substance abuse rate. And in 2017, we had written the most number of prescriptions for opioids in Putnam County of all the counties combined. So I just would like to see us get this on the agenda as soon as possible.
When would you like it on a workshop?
As soon as we
The
can.
next workshop?
That'd be great.
Can we schedule an hour of time for that?
Yep,
For you to bring your players into the
Yep.
room?
that'd be great. Okay,
Let's get it on a workshop,
excellent.
Mr. Chairman.
because I think it's important to
Yeah.
talk about. Yes, sir.
I know what the goal is. What are we trying to accomplish by workshopping this, Commissioner?
So-
I mean, what changes and suggestions or priorities are we not meeting now that we could meet by having I'm not saying
We're-
I'm not against
No,
it
I
at
know,
all.
I-
I'm just
so,
saying
and
I'm
I had
trying
the
to
same- I had-
find-
I had the
I'm more
exact
of a
same-
nuts and bolts guy, so
Right.
what are we trying to accomplish?
So when you start talking to, what's crazy is, and I hate to invoke the word synergy, but if you really look at all the individual components that there are working towards substance abuse and mental health issues, none of them are pulling together, basically. I became familiar with a private nonprofit group that's faith-based, that's having a tremendous amount of success on a small level, and they say they can scale up. So they, when I was talking with Colonel Wells the other day, he made a presentation at the Public Safety Coordinating Council. The jail has now moved to having a recovery pod. The recovery pod allows us faith-based groups to go in and start getting men that are in a position, men and women, I guess, to start in embracing sobriety. Once they get out of jail, they still have the court issues they have to go through, whether it's probation or whatever. But in talking with Judge McGillen and Judge Boatwright, the courts are willing to work with folks in an intervention program that keeps them out of jail, but then you have to have some supervision for them. And apparently the one of the key factors to having a successful recovery, and it is peer support, having a job, having stable housing, having access to social services when you need them. So apparently, not apparently, relapse is going to be an issue. But if you have the support team there to help people, to catch them when they fall, then they don't go back to jail and they don't lose their job.
I understand all that. I get the nuts and bolts. I'm not asking how to build the watch. I'm asking how to tell what time is it.
Right.
So,
That was actually written in one of my evaluations one time.
okay, so I bet it was. So anyhow, my question being is, what are we trying to accomplish? Are we trying to bring the sides together? Because Jeremy Ray and them, I know it's not
That's what I'm talking
never
about.
enough, but they
Right.
do already with everything you're saying. And they're not the only group they're just the only probably volunteer private type group. But, so most of this is being done. And I'm not saying this is being done enough or well enough or
Right.
whatever. What are we actually
So-
trying to accomplish that we're not doing at the moment?
Well, I think the commission needs to make a bold statement. I think we should put some capital up to be able to keep people out of jail and be able to use this system in such a way that we can let our guard down enough to destigmatize the problem.
Capital to who, Commissioner?
Even if we have to make it available to nonprofits like Jeremy Ray's. When I was talking to Jeremy the other night, he said one of the things they would like to do is I can't remember the word he said, but he said they would like to have something school, and it's basically for youths, because we have nothing for our youths to get hooked on this stuff. So with the campuses that are coming available, maybe we could encourage some conversation with the school district. And then the other part is skills training for the folks that are going through recovery. If they were a professional and they are no longer allowed to operate as a professional because they've lost their licensing, they're going to have to be retrained into something. We can't have them sitting around doing nothing. And apparently a large part of recovery is having a job and stability in your life. So
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
I was absolutely blown away when we were at a meeting, excuse me, 2 months ago at the Public Safety Coordinating Council, and the young lady to my left and the young man next to him worked for SMA as peer support specialists. I didn't know what they did. And when the young lady to my left said, we were having this really good roundtable conversation because we didn't have a quorum, so we were just going to talk about what can be done. And she said, I suffer from mental illness. And I was like, wow, didn't know that. And she's a peer support specialist working for SMA. And the young man next to her said, I'm a recovered heroin addict. So in talking with Ed Killebrew and Jeremy Ray, what's really important is having people that have walked the walk, helping these folks get into their sobriety, and then having them help hold their hand, and then they pay it forward. So eventually the community starts to heal, and we're making large strides instead of 6 people at a time. But the big thing is just putting some money on the table so we can make these programs more successful.
Thank you. Mr. Adamsack, you had a comment?
Yeah, kind of, Terry, I'm with you a little bit on that because, just throwing money at something isn't always a good idea either. But the thing is, I don't think any of us really know what the solution is. I think we need to figure out a way to sit down and talk about it amongst ourselves and come up with a proposal of what we think would be the best idea. And if we get some of those people from those groups there, they can kind of tell us, well, that really doesn't work. This place tried that or this, or maybe we come up with something new. I don't know. It's a conversation that definitely needs to move forward, so I fully support it.
Yeah, I agree. Mr. Turner?
I totally agree. I think it's a conversation we can have, and Commissioner Adamsack hit the nail square on the head by saying that sometimes throwing money at something just doesn't fix it. So, if we can have a solid plan to where we can help somebody, and it may be Jeremy and Ed and them, and then again, it may be one of the professional recovery places. I don't know. I don't have those answers.
Or combination.
Or a combination.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think that's what it's gonna be.
I'm willing to sit down, Mr. Chairman, and listen to this at workshop for sure.
Mr. Rawls, I would like for you to do, kind of model this after what they do in Tallahassee. We want an end game here, so I know it's going to be hard to get that, but if you will, this is where we want to end up. How do we get there, guys? So, and I agree with that, but I'm in support of that. Actually, it's on my list of things I was.
Okay.
So good deal. Thank you. Mr. Rawls, you have anything else?
When are we going to start the agenda items that we discussed, any idea when we're gonna
Priority
be?
meetings?
Yeah,
Yeah,
looking at putting,
That's been,
the priority's not been prioritized.
well, yeah, most of it was budget. There was a few things, I think we're just gonna have to go, it kind of messed up, the meeting did, and I think we're just gonna have to pick out the top 3 or 4 items that we had, and, you know, but let's get through this time, and we'll, you know, but that's what I'm gonna do,
Yeah.
so.
Then the other thing I was wondering what we're, you know, if we can start, I can't stop thinking about the cost factor related to the $15 an hour minimum wage. As a business owner, I'm dealing with it personally in our business, trying to figure out what we're gonna do and how we're gonna handle it. And what we've come up with is just gonna be very expensive for us and for our customers. So I know that we're government, but our customers are the taxpayers, and we're not gonna be able to get around it either. And where you've got a paramedic now making $15 an hour, recently raised up to there, and then you're gonna bring everybody else under them up to 15. Now we gotta push that pain out a little bit more to keep them coming back to the table and not leaving. And I think we're gonna have to deal with this in almost every department. I know we're gonna have to, so I think that should be something we address pretty quickly, because September will be on top of us as soon as we know it, and October 1st, I believe, if I understand it correctly, is when we have to make the first adjustment in payroll to start moving people, because I think you have to bring them up incrementally over the next 5 years, unless I'm mistaken. That is, okay? That's correct. So it's gonna be about a 10 or 11% hit based on the numbers that I've pushed around, if we do not raise anyone else up. And if we don't, it's a double-edged sword.
Mr. Turner, you had a comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I keep hearing the $15 an hour thing, and I wasn't for it and what have you, but it's not like in October it turns $15. It goes up to, what, 10 or something, 11?
It's $1.
I understand, Jeff, or Commissioner, I understand. But it's not like we've got to deal with this come October. I believe in planning, just like you're suggesting, 100% believe in it. But for us to say the sky is falling October 1st is ridiculous. So, yes, we need to plan it, and we need to do our very best due diligence we can, but that's what staff is gonna do during the budget processes every year. I believe that to be true. And it's gonna present problems in every scope of every business across the board, whether it's private or not. But it's still something we are going to have to deal with, and we will deal with it as it comes up. And I don't know how planning any further than just making sure that the money's met and the way it's done, and Director Grimes is gonna have to deal with it the same way that the sheriff is, and everybody, and Mike Troxel is, and everybody else, to make sure that there's enough budget and that he can retain his middle employees, because they're gonna make the ones that make 15 now, if you raise up to 15, they're gonna go somewhere else where they can make 17, because I'll give you a quick example. Back when the banks around here years ago, they raised the minimum wage to $8.50 or something an hour, and everybody went to work as a cashier in the bank. This was years ago. Well, that wasn't but just a short period of time. The cashiers had to start making $9 or $10 an hour, because all they did was start swapping to other banks that would pay a little more. That's what's going to happen. But it's not going to be just that.
Well,
You've had to notice in your business, like I have, that prices are going up faster than you can write the bids down on a piece of paper.
Yep.
You know, within a week, your
It's
price
just
is no
very
good any
discouraging.
longer from what it was when you turned it in a week ago.
That's right.
And trying to build something without an escalation clause in your contract nowadays is impossible.
Yep.
Unless you want to bankrupt your company.
Nope.
And so, you know, I think that's where we are with this $15 deal. It's just one small integral part of this wide thing that's fixing to happen, that we're going to come to tuition over the next 3 to 4 years, big time, I believe.
Well, what the point that I'm trying to make is, and you've made my point. It's not $1, by the way. It's $1.50, because in some cases we're paying almost 28% of payroll for retirement, and you got 7.65 on Social Security, Medicaid, and food and on that. So those numbers are real. But if we don't start budgeting and planning now for 5 years down the road, and starting and but also having, hear me out though. Hear me out here. If I was an employee working for the county, and I've made this very clear to my employees. Anybody making $14 an hour is going to be making $19 an hour. I am not going to go down this road with my employees. We're going to do what's right. But if I'm a county employee And I don't know that the commission has my back, and there's a chance that you might jam somebody right up against me where I'm making $15 an hour and somebody else is going to come in that was making $8, $9, $10 an hour. I don't think we have any at 8, but we do have at 9 and 10, and they're going to be making the same thing as me. I might start looking for a job elsewhere right now. So I think if we can get our strategy out and you know, announce it, so we give some confidence to the employees that we're not going to, you know, be trying to rush in and make a last minute adjustment. I think we could really hold on to some folks because we can't afford to lose anybody. So that's all.
I don't think anybody's disagreeing. Mr. Adams, you have a comment?
Yeah, I mean, the sky only falls if you don't have a plan, right? And I think what I don't see us as having a plan. I'm sure staff is working on a plan, but I think it would make me feel more comfortable if we had that in a workshop at some point and talked through it and heard what the plan is for the minimum wage increase, the stepped increase over the next 5 years. I agree the first step is probably the easiest one, but you know, I'm a little bit concerned that we still have job openings out there that don't meet that minimum wage for October, and you know, that should be the minimum at this point for any posting that we have out there, things like that. So when you don't see that, when you're watching things in the county and you're one of the commissioners, it does get a little bit concerning that we're not talking about it, and then also actions aren't happening that seem like would be obvious. That's just my view on it.
I'm sure when we start our budget, we'll be ready for that discussion, and that should start very soon. Mr. Pickens, you have any, Mr. Rawls, were you done?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, Mr. Pickens?
Like, do you want to make a comment? The only thing I've got is, I understand with one of the priorities was to have town hall meetings every month, the first Monday of each month, so May would be Crescent City. Is that still on? Because I want to make sure.
Well, that was somebody's priority, but if you want my opinion on that, I really rather us start looking to having joint meetings with our municipalities. I really would. I think Willaca would be great. I mean, all of our municipalities. So I think the conversation probably needs to go to the fact of we can't do it all. And I think we realize that with the priority, trying to get that going. We can't do it all. We got a lot of planes in the air. But what can we do? And I think the things we can do are the low-hanging fruit. The budget talks will happen. But to answer your question, Mr. Pickens, this commissioner would like to have our focus be on joint meetings with our municipalities right now and have those official town hall meetings, not just, because I can go out to Melrose and have lunch with Larry. I can go to Crescent City and have lunch with Larry. I can do that. But I'm talking about really, as Mr. Watts said today, Mayor Watts said, about truly working with us. I think those are the conversations that we need to have in this room.
Okay, I don't know that answered my question, but
Yeah,
I'm going to continue to have, and we'll have one in April with the three mayors. I'll meet with them. May have staff, may not. But actually, the town hall meetings that we've been having, if we're going to have it, I want to arrange it. If we're not going to have one, then I'm fine with that, and we can try to do, you know, a joint meeting with the town hall, with the city commissioners from Crescent City, if that's what you want to do, or we can get Willaca and Pomona in the same room. But I don't want one to happen. I want to be in charge of it. I want to pick the place, and I want to do it. If we're going to have one, if we're not, then
That should be up to you. It's in your district.
yeah, I'm all for it. I'll be there.
Yeah, I think it's a great.
I'll be there whether you have it or not, so I'm going to have one.
that's what I'm
If you-
getting.
I would
at.
prefer if you
I'm
would,
gonna
that would
have
be
one,
preferable.
just a town hall meeting, with a little more structure, not that the one at Willaca went fine. I'll have the PA system, so we don't need Travis Roberts' PA system, because didn't work right. I appreciate his effort, so I will have it at the town hall, at the Women's Club at 6 o'clock on the 3rd of May.
Would you like to have that a joint meeting?
No, I think we'll just have a meeting, and I'll invite any of the other commissioners that want
Women's
to
Club?
come. The Women's Club, yeah.
So are you gonna try to sorry,
Go right
Mr. Chairman, my light ain't on. Are you gonna try to continue to have your meeting with the mayors, correct?
Yes,
To see
continue.
if
I'm gonna
they
have
want
those,
to
yeah.
have a joint meeting with all of us?
I will do that, yeah. We'll, I think we're gonna meet with them April 21st, I believe is what I'm gonna try to schedule, and that's at 10 o'clock. And we meet down at the tag office in Crescent City. And I'll mention to them, see if they wanna have a joint meeting, you know, with us. But I'll set something up in Crescent City, for a Crescent City Town Hall meeting, so that we'll continue the town hall meetings that
Well,
Commissioner Rawls wants to
I
do.
would appreciate there being an issue that they would like to discuss. And I mean, I don't mean a specific issue, but a list of things that may be interlocal agreements or
Yeah, that's
things that
definitely
they
on the
want
list.
to do. I mean, if they want to visit, we can go down and have a beer. But I mean, if they want to have a real meeting, then let's have a reason why, if that
Understand.
makes sense.
Mr. Adamzak?
Hold
you-
it, we're not gonna meet, we're not gonna meet just to meet.
Mr. Adamzak has a question if you allow.
I'm all for going to the one in Crescent City or wherever they're held. There's a couple first Mondays in the year that I can't make, and that's to be expected over a year. And I'm all for if it's in the commissioner's district that they arrange the place and the time. I have no problem with that. My district, Jeff, if you're gonna arrange one in Johnson, which I would like, I think it's easier if you arrange it because you've been the point. So I'm fine in my district if you arrange them, but I'll be at all of them that I can be at. And if we do the joint with municipalities, I'll be all of them I can be at too.
And I have a PA system that you can use. It's a lot easier than Travis's stuff.
Yeah,
so-
the Women's Club has one.
Okay,
so.
all right. Well, just know that, but if you need one. Mr. Rawls, did,
Yeah, so the whole point of these is getting out and engaging the public and discussing things like we just talked about with, the public probably does not know, and it was actually brought to the commission at the Barden Town Hall meeting about the substance abuse problem that we have, and what was being presented, I think you may have.
I had left, yeah.
Okay, what was being presented was, what is the commission doing? It doesn't feel like you're doing enough. You're spending over $400,000, and so here it hit me because I realized I've never talked to Ted Killebrew about it. He doesn't know what I'm working on, and I don't know what y'all are working on, and everybody else. Then when I start talking to people, yeah, we're working here, we're doing this. It's like, well, why don't we all get together?
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing is, this year's budget is going to be difficult. No matter how you slice it up, we've got some challenges, and
Mr. Rawls, Mr. Pickens still has the floor.
No, he's fine. I'm
no,
done.
this
I'm
is
done.
regarding the
Okay.
town hall meetings and being able to get out there and engage the public, getting their buy-in. It would be helpful rather than waiting until the last minute and then having everybody going, hey, what is all these increases? Why can't we have this? Why are we cutting this from the budget? And we can have the conversation
Well,
now.
If you, Mr. Pickens, do you mind if I?
No, I'm done.
Okay. You got to remember, go back 7 years ago, 2 commissioners were on the budget committee. 2, not 5. Change that. There's a lot of transparency now that we do in those years from that forward, that there should be, if somebody has any question about a budget, they can come here and watch, they can come here and listen, and we're all on the speaker trail. I'll be at your Rotary Club tomorrow morning. We're all on the speaker trail of talking. So I think if you really want the information, you find the information. And, but I can tell you, we've come a long way from there to now to be transparent. And you know what bothered me when I first came here, and I don't mean, we'd have one person sitting right there where Mr. Troxel is at an evening meeting about the budget that was announced. And I'm thinking, really? That one
was me.
person?
That was me.
No, that wasn't you. That was somebody else.
You've been there before.
But I'm saying, you go, come on, guys, this is the most important thing we do, but yet you'll fuss about garbage to me, but you won't come to a budget meeting. So I understand the frustration, I do. But most of the time, people are happy that we're reducing taxes, reducing fees. They're happy with that. So, Mr. Rawls, you had something? And
So
then
again,
I got a couple things, transportation related.
I understand what you're saying, but in engaging the public in these meetings, it's a lot easier to disseminate the information little bits at a time. I don't know that it's the public's responsibility necessarily to engage themselves and try to figure out what our next move is or what our budget may or may not be. Once we present that budget in September, that's when the budget hearings are, and that's when we discuss with the public if they show up. But getting to that point, if there is a need for us to be able to find alternative revenue sources, for instance, we could have that conversation going forward.
Mr. Chairman, I thought but I think his comment time was already over. I mean, really? We're just gonna continue?
Yeah,
He yielded the rest of
subject
his.
after subject?
I mean, We're here to do the public's work.
We are, and we're gonna do that. You'll see that during budget, and it'll be so transparent. Yep. Mr. Pickens, are you done?
I am done.
Okay, I got
Thank
a
you for
few
yielding
things.
the rest of your time.
I got a few things transportation related. Mr. Troxel, I emailed you, and then Jim, I'll get with you in just a moment. Mr. Browning, I appreciate the job you did over there cleaning out behind Robert Browning's place. That was done by a private contractor that you took care of and when do we expect, Mr. Browning's gonna pay for the pipe to put in there? So when do we expect that pipe to be put in? And I think all we're gonna do is lay dirt over top of that pipe?
Yeah, we're gonna go, well, I gotta dig the bottom out, cause it's all big riprap in there, so that's gotta come out. We probably gotta backfill a little bit and then put the pipe in and then cover it up.
Oh, you got that, you gotta dig all that rock up?
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
so,
Where did we
we're
get
looking
the
at that now.
money to do that at?
Well, the board approved that, what, a year ago we talked about doing that?
I remember it, but we approved to clean out the ditch, and I didn't remember approving the
There was no, there's no other money in there right now to do that
Yeah.
with.
So okay, did you understand that that was approved? Is that what we're,
I thought we were gonna clean the ditch and make it drain and do all that, which is what I think we've done, isn't it? But now we're talking about taking a pipe and redigging the whole ditch and reconfiguring the whole structure. And, I mean, buying the pipe's gonna be like a small percentage of what that's gonna cost once you go in there and redo the whole project. It'll cost more than what we use the contractor for to dig it out.
Because it's a riprap that's in the channel there. So that has to come out.
so are you prepared maybe the next meeting to come to us with the next transportation meeting about the cost of that?
Yeah, I'll get Philip working on what it might cost.
May I ask what's wrong with how it is now?
Mr. Browning would like all that nastiness to go away, frankly.
Well,
where he
it's been
can
there
make-
since he moved there.
He was willing to buy the pipe and if the board so desires, put the dirt down, then he has the yard that he will maintain and we don't have to worry about it. But we do spend money on cleaning this out, either with prisoners or our own people. And this might be the one-time fix that goes away and we never deal with it again.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to have some cost numbers on it,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Can you bring that?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing, cross culvert at 310 at the Larson property that you and I looked at the other day, the two holes in the side of the road.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
On the north and south side. Gentlemen, if you don't know, right there on before you get to 310, no, before you get to 315, on 310, if you're going west, there's a cross culvert right there. There's two big holes where the culvert has failed on the north and south right away and before the ditch. So where are we at with that?
They should have been out there to fill those holes in. I did not confirm that before I came in here, and that's my fault, because you let me
And
know.
that's one of those projects that we might look at where they grout that pipe where they don't have to go in there and rip up the road and put a new,
Correct. We've been playing phone tag with APT, which is
okay.
the company.
Well, I'm not
that's-
saying that's the company, I'm just
No, I
saying-
just need them to come out and look at it.
But
That should
we-
be fairly simple, because it's a smaller pipe, but it is full of water all the time.
Yeah, it's
I just need to
full.
know if they can do it while there's water in the pipe.
Yeah. So you're going to bring that back to us also? Okay. And the thing you mentioned this morning, Jenkins Safe School Route, Safe Schools. Jenkins is on the chopping block this year. We've had that discussion before. I don't want to build something and nobody's going to use it. We're really going to look silly with that. So what's our plan for that?
I believe I had not talked with FDOT yet, but this is their initiative. So I believe Mike have both talked to FDOT, but I don't know what they said back as far as if they want to go forward with it. Because is it going to be going next year, or is it 5 years down the road? Do we know?
I don't know, and I don't know.
Jenkins is next year? Okay.
I don't know if it'll be repurposed into something else. It might be looking like that for the future. I don't know what the answer there. But I know I don't want to put a bunch of money from DOT into it and then go, oh, by the way, we're not going to use that school again.
Yeah.
I mean, that just doesn't make us look good at all. Maybe you should let them know and then,
I know that they've talked with FDOT. I just don't know what the results are.
okay. That's the only three
Okay.
things I have. So thank you. I hope your head's feeling better.
Still got a headache.
I'm sorry. Jim, you wanted to share something with us about from the comments that were made this morning.
I do.
So you'd done some research and made some phone calls.
I have. Mr. Chair, Jim Triano, Planning and Development Services. As was mentioned earlier, I appreciate the opportunity of being able to go back and talk to Mr. Teeple, talk to Mr. Brown, as well as looking at the video from the March the March board meeting we had to discuss the
You haven't had
comprehensive
lunch
plan.
at all, have you?
Other than sushi.
No, sir. I skipped lunch today, but it'll come eventually. So I've looked at that, and it was clear based on my conversations as well as the video that had there been any issues with the data analysis of the comprehensive plan, it was left up to the board members to contact Mr. Teeple to provide that information to him. Other than a few suggestions made by Mr. Rawls, Mr. Chair, that Mr. Teeple is making changes to as we speak, there have been no suggestions provided to Mr. Teeple or me or to anybody in planning. However, if there are any issues that this board has with the data analysis, much like Mr. Suggs said earlier, we'll be glad to fix it. We have plenty of time to fix the data. We do. The data was derived from a study that we wound up getting a grant for from the DEO. It's part of the packet that you all got. It's in the back of the documents, and that's where the data came from. And so that was the most tangible, realistic data we had. It wasn't other data that he couldn't verify. However, removing names of people that are no longer here or businesses or corporations, we'll be glad to make any changes that this board desires to make. We have plenty of time. We can even make changes after the transmittal is made before we even go to a final. So that's my research, Mr. Chair, that I've been able to review. I'm sorry, I thought I knew the answer, but I wanted to make sure before I provided this board with an explanation.
No, I appreciate you getting that information. Can I ask a question before I turn it over real quick? Could Mr. Teeple send us a copy of the data that he's working on currently or the draft he's working on, and then we can read kind of an updated as of today type version?
I can ask him for that, yes, sir. I do know that he was speaking to Mr. Rawls concerning ALFs, and I think Mr. Rawls made another suggestion to him at the dais after the meeting concerning something else, but I don't remember what Mr. Teeple mentioned to me, but certainly.
Thank you. Mr. Rawls?
I don't mind doing somebody else's job. I don't mind it at all. Why don't you go to somebody else? Let me come back. I need to calm down for a minute.
I'll take it next. I do mind doing his job, because it was my understanding, sorry, Mr. Chairman, it was my understanding that we hired that company or that firm to do the project. And it was also my understanding, where I got it from, I don't know, that it was gonna be the entire process, including the data. When we had that meeting, you just watched it, so you can let me know if I'm not right or wrong. We were told we weren't gonna be discussing the data that day because the data was coming. Maybe it was inferred to me that the data was coming. I don't know, but we were told not to discuss the data that day, even though we knew that the data was completely incorrect. I don't mean mildly incorrect. A lot of it's completely incorrect. So it was, like I said, maybe it was that it was inferred to me, or I felt like it was inferred to me, that at some point, Kimberly Horn would come up here and say, okay, if we don't have the information, then we're gonna have a meeting. That's what I thought they were doing through this whole process, was to come up with the information needed to put in accurate data. I wasn't concerned as of before today, because I felt like that was taking place. I felt like the goals, objectives, and policies were gonna be submitted. We'd keep the process moving forward. We'd plug in the data to the most current data we could get our heads wrapped around, our hands wrapped around at some point, and then we'd be ready to adopt the comp plan with the most current, best data that we could come up with. So if that's not happening, and there's a reason Kimberly Horn's not gonna make that happen, then I think this board needs to know, because that is part of what needs to go in the comp plan, is accurate data. And it doesn't need to be done by Commissioner Rawls or myself or Commissioner Adamsack or whatever. If we find a tweak that needs to be done, there's nothing wrong with tweaking. But as far as us going out and writing that, we paid them to do it. If that's not part of what we paid them to do, then let me know. We'll go hire somebody different if that's not included in their contract. Because that's got to be part of the comp plan. It can't hold up the process. And I'm not complaining to you, Mr. Trelawney, I'm just trying
I
to
understand.
confer. So, it's got to be part of the process here that we get this done as soon as possible, because as soon as we get the transmittals back from, no, it's not DCA anymore, but the state. As soon as we get it back from the state, they'll probably send us an e-report. As soon as they do, we'll try to get on it as quickly as possible. And then we know where we can start writing our land development code regulations from, and that's what we've got to get done. We've got to stop dragging out about this. It shouldn't take 8 to 10 years to do something like this, and we've already been on it at least 3.5 to get to the point we are right now.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Turner.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr.
And by the
Rawls?
way, you didn't ask me for my commissioner comments.
All right.
I'll get to you. I'm sorry.
Part of my frustration is that when I ask one of the individuals for the planning board, actually I talked to two different ones. I asked them when they were presented the data. They said it was after the comp plan had been worked through. I said, why were you not given the data? Y'all would have been the first people that could look at this and realize that there was inaccuracies in it. And they said we weren't given it. So we've been working on this for about 2 years and 3 months that I know of. Because we started this after I got elected. We've spent over $120,000. I would be more than happy to sit down and go through my heartburn with Mr. Teeples. But when I opened my book up and I showed him one thing that I had circled, and I had 3 letters, and the first letter was W. And he said, what is that? And I said, if I have to spell it out. And he says, no, you don't. And I literally had circled it to myself, and I put a big question mark. Really? You know, so staff didn't read it. He doesn't know what he's looking at. He's not from around here. And we've developed this comp plan on some inaccurate information. I think it might be time to pump the brakes a little bit, get it organized, not be in a hurry to publish this thing. I'm alongside 100% with Commissioner Turner. Our land planning is horrible, and we've got to get it corrected. And that is definitely one of the concerns that I've had from outside the county before I was a commissioner. And the other day, somebody asked me where they can get a copy of the most current, the comp plan draft that we have. She had the old one. And I said, please don't look at the old one. And I said, we're still working through the new one. I sent her a copy of what everything but the data. I didn't want to give her the data on it. So I would encourage you guys to get this stuff done sooner than later, obviously. But and I'll help any way I can. But honestly, guys, I'm really, really, really busy right now. And
Thank you. Mr. Turner, you have a final comment?
Yes, sir. My comment would just be, what's our next step, Gene?
Right.
What are we doing now? Now, I'm the guy that wants to know, how do we get to the end of the road, not how far it is, or I want to know how to get there. So what's our next step to try to get accurate data as we can, prepared where we can plug it in when the submittals on the policy goals and objectives come back from Tallahassee?
Mr. Chair, we certainly will look back at this. We understand, and I do see the data that he used, Mr. Teeple, from the study that was completed in 2018, the grant. That's the most up-to-date information that he had to use, in addition to the information that he received from the chamber. So we will look at that. Florida Technical is one of the comments. Obviously, they're no longer here in Putnam County. They were at the time, but we'll look at some of those and remove them to make it more accurate that way. Other than that, we can, as a staff, go through and look at the data to see if there's any glaring type issues. In the contract that we had with him, it was his responsibility to provide us accurate data. Obviously, that is not the most accurate data, and it needs to be changed.
Right.
He's willing to make any changes necessary. As far as the rest of the data, we know that he used legitimate, justifiable sources to provide that data to us. It's clearly indicated in the packet. And each of your notebooks that you had is contained at the back of the notebook. I'm sorry?
I read the whole thing.
Okay. So be glad to look through it again to make any changes. What my concern is that I may miss something, or staff may miss something. So we're going to go back to him and ask him to ensure that it's most accurate. But If you have specific comments that you've identified already, I certainly don't want to ask anybody to go back and do anything additional, but if you have comments already that will help us identify those, I can just take your simple notes and use them. I'd be glad to move forward with that.
Thank you, Jim. Wrapping it up real quick, Mr. Roth.
So I think one thing that's hamstringing us right now is that we as a county do not have the ability to know what businesses we have operating right now. What ALFs, ACLFs, apartment communities, businesses, whether they be retail, restaurant, and that really makes it hard. I'm not asking Brian to pull a rabbit out of his hat, but when I read the reports, I asked him, I said, where'd you get this data? He said, it's the most current data from 2018, and we're in 2021. And I know this was started in 2020. So I think that he was paid to compile data, $100,000. That's a lot of money. Kimley Horn needs to earn their money in this case. Go out there, get the data, make it real. There are ways of getting, if he had engaged the Small Business Development Center, for instance, they might have been able to give him some information on business that we know we have here, businesses we have. We just went through COVID. We know how much money was put on the streets. My gosh, the clerk of court has got to have, we've seen that laundry list of folks that applied for PPP, or I'm sorry, for CARES Act money. So that data is available readily from us. But I'll be more than happy if you will come across the street to my office. I will be more than happy to go through, and you'll see the notes that I have tabbed out. I tabbed my book out. I went through and, I'll be happy to do that. But I think we need something more meaningful, because when I compare, and this is the other part, when I compare the data that we have now to the old plan, something doesn't line up right. So on the old one, on the housing element, there, you're looking at 70% of your housing was built prior to 1980. I can't get there with this one, and it's not because we've built so much housing since then, and it's not because we've torn down. Maybe we have. Maybe we've demoed that much in the county, but I don't think we have. So,
All right, let's move. I think we beat this horse. And your door is open, and you're going to send out that version, and I'm sure Mr. Teeple's going to watch this video and understand what he needs to do.
Mr. Chair, just so you know, we're committed to making sure that we have an accurate document.
I know you are.
And we'll move forward with that. And we obviously hear the issues that are being made by each of the members of this commission, and we want to make sure there's a good product moving forward.
Thank you.
My biggest concern, Mr. Chairman, is that we don't let this slow this process.
Yeah,
It will not.
We don't want to do that. All right, now I need to call on Commissioner Turner, past chairman
I
of
have nothing further.
Thank you,
for
sir.
asking.
Really?
You got to have a little fun as you go, Mr. Chairman.
I get it. I get it.
trying to be another record?
No,
No,
what's the
he
record?
missed the record
I
a while
missed the
ago.
record. It was probably 10 minutes. It's like the fish you catch keeps growing, It's the county attorney,
Nothing additional, thank you.
Mr. Administrator.
I have nothing, sir. Thank you.
Blame me either. Public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, this meeting's adjourned.
Hey, Jim, am I